Hello, everyone. Welcome and happy Sunday. It's really nice to see you guys. All right. The energy is like really chill today. So I decided to ride that wave of chillness and just go on. Because sometimes I like to go on when I'm activated, and sometimes I like to go on when I'm just chilling. It's all a matter of a mood, what my mood is. So we already have 218 people in here, which is pretty awesome. I have no idea what we're discussing today. It's all going to be unscripted as per usual. Unprepared. All I know is that I received a pretty clear vision this morning upon waking up, and that's all I have, you guys. That's all I have. I didn't think I'd be doing a live today. Yes, we're chilling with Mr. Dot. That's right. So I'll wait one more minute and then we'll begin. I hope you guys are well. Tomorrow's my birthday, by the way. So I'm a Virgo, and my birthday is September 16th. I thought it was Tuesday, but it's actually tomorrow. So that's happening tomorrow. I'm excited about that. I'm going to be 36, which is why I get into analyzing and dissecting everything, because that's the Virgo in me. I'm just wired that way. I remember growing up, people would say to me, do you ever get exhausted like analyzing everything? And I'm like, I'm not analyzing it. I'm just receiving thought packets. I'm just receiving downloads. So I've always been very in tune like that. And to other people, I'm sure that it can be perceived as exhausting if they don't live in this brain. But to me, this is just my normal. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. Yeah, I pretty much pick apart everything, MK. So, all right. I don't know where this is going to go, so I'm just going to start with the vision I received, and we'll see what I stream after that. So I woke up today, and I got this very clear, vivid vision about 2020 as it relates to starseeds, way showers, galactic shamans, grid workers, gatekeepers, guardians of New Earth. I got a very clear vision. And I was shown two groups, okay? So there were the starseeds, the entire starseed community, and then there were people who were still, the words that came in, that were still broadcasting a category, and I'll get into that in a minute. It was really profound. So a lot of you who are watching right now, I just want to acknowledge the entirety of who you are. Because, sometimes we oscillate at a certain frequency. And even though people can give you love and extend love, it doesn't always meet you at the level that you're vibrating at, meaning that you're thirsty for something different. And it's not that you don't enjoy when people give you love in their own way. It's just that you oscillate at a certain frequency, and your human self, not your spiritual self, is still wanting just that. It's thirsting for that love that a lot of people can't see that you need. And we all need love. We're in this together. And this has been a theme for me this week, because I went out with this girl named Elizabeth April. I don't know if you guys know her this week. She's an awesome way shower. And she said to me, Phil, you present yourself as a very professional guy online, but I have to say, I love your human more than your teacher. And I just had pins and needles all over my body. And she gave me something that I'm not going to go out and ask for, because if you start to ask for things, you have to understand most people are still vibrating at a third dimensional frequency or fourth. So they're going to filter it anyways. So as way showers, we have a responsibility to sometimes lug around these different suitcases and keep to ourselves a lot. We're here to be educators. We're here to show people the way. And we already have an understanding, what a lot of people would say, an inner standing, that if you share things with people that are more human, because they're still operating within a 3D mindset, they're going to distort that information and place you in a victim category, or it's going to bring out their own victim, and then you're going to create emotional bondage all over again. So I understood years ago that I can't share me at a personal level with everyone. Am I hiding it? Am I masking it? No, I'm an open book. But I also know that God, source, gives us responsibilities the more that we ascend. And our turn will come. Our turn to be poured into will come. That's how it works. So you never give for the purpose of receiving and for that to be reciprocated. You do it because it's your mission at that point in time. And the way that the universe works is it will always pour back into you. It has to, because everything is an equal measure. The universe is an intricately designed place where everything is always in balance. Nothing ever goes out of balance. So someone on my Facebook this week said to me, you seem like someone who just drinks coffee all day and is always like thinking about spirituality and that you need love. And I said, yeah, I do need love, but I'm also okay with where I am. And the reason that I'm okay with where I am is because I understand that everything happens in cycles. And there's beauty in every single cycle. Everyone. Whether you're building a business and you have that more go-getting mentality, whether you are in a zone where you just want to be left alone and you just want to meditate, or if you're in a more extroverted space where you want to go out and mingle with other people, there is beauty in every single cycle that you're in. So I agree with anyone who would say, oh, I'm a mad scientist right now and I'm very just professional, because that's the truth of where my life is right now. But when Elizabeth said that to me, I really melted inside. And then someone on my Instagram yesterday sent me a message, and I don't know this person, but her message really struck a chord with me. She said, Phil, I see how advanced you are and how a lot of people don't get you, but just know that I see all of you without the distortion, and I love you. And I almost cried because I was like, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for seeing my human. And I think a lot of way showers feel that way sometimes. Like now is a period where you really have to build the momentum. It's like a snowball of educating people because you're kind of in service to the collective. And not to say that you're going to neglect your own needs. Of course, you have to do everything you can to pamper yourself, whether that be get a massage or treat yourself to something nice or create an environment or a home that is like a heaven for you. And I feel like my life is heaven. It really feels so peaceful, and I wouldn't change where I am. And there's a lot of maturity in appreciating where you are and that there's nothing outside of you that could fix you. You know, it's appreciating every phase of the journey. And so there are kids who grow up and have a talent, and then they're introduced to the entertainment world, and they know that it's their purpose, but of course they're still young, and there's going to be a trade-off. It's like, okay, I may not be able to hang out with my friends or go to the sleepover because I've been chosen for this, and my higher self has chosen this for me. So in life, there's always going to be different seasons for things. And eventually that kid who worked really hard becoming an actor will be able to relax. And maybe the joy that their friends got to experience, like the very normal joy in that normal sense, they'll get to experience from 20 to the rest of their lives. You see? So it's all a matter of everyone has been blueprinted with a different plan. And if you resist that plan, you're only going to perpetuate your own suffering and your own hardships. I wouldn't change a thing about where I am in my life. I absolutely love serving all of you. I wouldn't do it if it didn't serve me either. I feel so invigorated every day. I feel so inspired. I feel very much at one with my higher self, like we've merged. And I wouldn't change that for anything. But it would be unrealistic or unreasonable of me to say I don't still want certain things. It's important to want things because there's your higher self, but then there's your human. And your human still has needs, and your human still has desires and wants. And what I'm here to tell you guys today, this isn't about me, but I wanted to share that just so that you can relate to it. What I wanted to tell you today is that every single desire that you have is bigger than you. It's consciousness. Everything is consciousness. Everything is frequency. So if you have a desire in your soul, it's like a burning desire. It's an undying desire to want to be loved and to be held in the embrace of another person and to get married someday and to maybe have a family or not have a family or to travel. What I'm here to tell you today and to confirm for you is that that will happen. It will happen by virtue of this desire having a mind of its own. Your desires are consciousness. They are God, source, wanting to express itself through you. They are God or source wanting to express itself through you. So all of your desires are bound to be brought into materiality eventually. When? Your universe will decide that for you. And of course, you can be proactive in that endeavor by making higher choices, by making wise choices, by asking your spirit, is this good for me? Is this in resonance with my soul? And when you do this, you sometimes fast track it, but sometimes you don't fast track anything. You just get to peace sooner. You just connect to joy sooner. But your universe will ultimately decide when that thing arrives. So this morning I got this really clear vision about 2020 and 2024. And the starseeds and the way showers who have been really putting in the work, being responsible enough to not share all their stuff, to not air out all their dirty laundry. Could you think of the loop that you would have been in if you shared all of your stuff with everyone all the time? If you divulged that information, you would form so much emotional bondage. And the more elevated that you become, the more responsibility you have towards everyone, including yourself. Because you understand that if you share a struggle that you're dealing with, now I'm not referring to the people who are part of your soul group and who don't put you in a box when you share these things. I'm talking about your everyday Joe Schmo that you bump into, or a friend in your life, or a family member. If you were to constantly regurgitate what you're going through, you would be stunting your own growth. I mean, let's face it, when you start to elevate your mind, your third eye comes online and you can see how it's serving or disserving people. So you do have more responsibility as a whole. That's just part of it. If you decide to become a mom, right, you kind of have to hold it together. You have children now. You have to manage your own emotions. You have to manage your energy and really bring your maturity to the table and into the fold. Because if you don't, why are you a mom? Right? And that's not to say that the universe won't teach you through that dynamic. Of course, it will teach you through that dynamic. But if you're always unstable and erratic and out of balance, like a lot of our parents were, is that really setting an example for your child? And that's what I'm talking about today. So we have 840 people in the house, so which is awesome. So what I'm saying is that the more responsibility you are given, responsibility to me means that you gain more access to the entire grid. Meaning that if you bump into someone who is playing a pity game, and you know that they do this with every other person they meet. Oh, the weather sucks outside. Oh, my life sucks. Oh, I can't figure out what my purpose is. If you bump into people like that a lot, they're used to doing that. Okay? Otherwise, they wouldn't do it with you. They do it all the time. It's a repetitious cycle. So when you're awakened, you have a responsibility to not feed into that. Because if you do that, you're giving your energy away. You're enabling them. You're like, here, let me spoon feed you. And now I'm going to be compromised. Now I'm going to be all drained. So the thing is, the more that you can see, the more responsibility you have. That's just the truth. And I'll do a whole other video about that. a whole other video because I was going to do that video today, but my guides were like, we need to talk about 2020. So when someone is like an emotional vampire, they're an emotional vampire because they're used to taking people's blood. If they had found the source of light from within, they would stop playing the victim. The reason why they do that, and then they feel so great after, is because they've just transferred their crap onto you. They've just dumped it all on you. And they're like, oh my God, I feel so much better yet now. And they're going to do it again in a day from now. So did you really help them? No, you didn't. Thank you so much for the donations, you guys. I appreciate you, Joel. I see you, CHF. Thank you. So, okay, so back to what I was saying. We have a responsibility as way showers and star seeds to, once we exit the 3D matrix, to not participate in that game anymore. That doesn't mean you're going to bypass what you feel. It doesn't mean that you as a human don't have desires. You have a right to feel what you're feeling. You have a right to desire what you're wanting. You still have a right as a creator being of your reality to attract someone into your life who's going to love you and hug you and secure you and tell you that they love you. So just because you're an elevated being doesn't mean that we don't have wants and we don't have needs. So what I got for 2020 is that everyone who has been putting in that work, everyone who's been plugging hours into their spirit, into their evolution, into their ascension, there is help that is underway. That is the message I got precisely. Help is underway. Now, from a 3D vantage point, you might say you don't need help from the outside when you've already connected to the help from the inside. That's false. We're here as a collective. There's a difference between playing the victim and getting help that way and being fed by other people's emotional energies and keeping to yourself, knowing that you're in a certain season right now where you have to assume maturity, and also understanding that the universe will always calibrate or recalibrate your field by sending you that help. That help may be a friend that you can have fun with. It may be someone I go for a coffee with that isn't even a close friend who says, I see you're human and I like your human more than your teacher. Just that alone is like, wow, like it feels so good. It's like a warm blanket that's being placed on me for a minute. And that's all I need, because that minute turns into a whole inpouring of light into my soul. So the message I got for you guys today is that help is underway. And we already know, that's what the guys are saying, we already know that you can do it on your own. You've already proven that you're independent. You've already proven that you don't need external help. You've already proven that you don't need to play the victim in order to siphon other people's energies. You've already proven that you've learned how to withhold those emotions when you really want to say something and instead integrated them and process them. So that's what they're saying to you today, is they're saying, we know that you're strong. We know that you're a force to be reckoned with. But the thing about you is that you've been dishing out all of this energy in service to humanity, and we want you to know that 2020 is going to be your year, that everything is going to align for you, that all of these desires that you've been having, all these things that you've been hungering for, are going to come into your life to feed your soul. They're going to come into your life to feed your soul. And the thing about you, the group I'm talking to right now, which is most of you probably, you don't even need to say things like, oh, but I'm good with it or not. We already know you. We already see you. You don't need to explain anything or justify anything. We have seen the effort that you have brought forth. We have seen you put your best foot forward. You don't have to say to us, oh, but I'm good with or without love. We already know that about you. Oh, man, I'm getting so many chills. You don't have to explain anything because you are the proof. The proof is in your pudding. Look at all the work that you've done. I want to share with you and I love how we're just kind of flowing with it today, but I wanted to share with you a vision I got 2 days ago that's unrelated to the vision I received this morning. And I thought it was like amazing. So there's me, there's Phil, and then there's you. All right, let's just look at the person right now. Semra, who just donated up there. And then there's Semra, and then there's Michelle, and then there's Tamra. Yay. And then there's Lori. There's us as humans embodying that higher self energy, galactic energy, angelic energy, expanding our beingness so that we can hold more light, more photonic light as the conduits that we are. But then behind you, there's like this giant Phil, or there's this giant Lori, or this giant Tamara. And this giant Tamara isn't her higher self. You can think of it as the pipeline that connects her to her higher self. It's a giant. It looks like a giant. And what is this giant reflective of? What is the symbolism of this giant? It is all of the energy that she poured into her soul that started feeding this little thing that turned into a giant. All right? So you have a giant behind you that is a composite of all the good that you've done, of all of that energy that you've directed in service to others. That energy always goes somewhere, right? Always. It's either going to your 3D self or to your 5D self or to this giant. I love this vision of a giant because I see it in my mind's eye. So every time that I listen to my spirit, and I'll just use myself for a minute as an example, every time I've listened to my spirit, like I was at TJ Maxx and they're like, ooh, fix that little t-shirt right there. It's off the rack. And I would fix it, or off the hanger, I would fix it. Or every time my ego wanted to take sessions and I curbed my ego, I tamed it and I said, no, my body just wants to get in the sun, or I just want to throw a blanket on myself and watch Netflix. Every time you direct your energy to this greater cause, to your grander mission, to your grander purpose, which is outside of the programming, this giant was fed all of this food. And it grew and it grew and it grew, which is why you're always inspired to do the next thing and the next thing. Like for me, I was inspired to get on YouTube, but I myself, this body wasn't inspired. The giant, my giant Phil, was like, I'm going to give you all the energy you need in life because you have fed me so much, and I am you, but I'm all the times that you did the right thing. I am a composition or a composite of all the times you did the right thing. And now I'm running your show, meaning that you can let go into my arms now. You can just trust me that I will always inspire when you need to be inspired. I will always provide when you need to be provided for. And I love that because I always talk about the fifth dimensional new earth reality as being a vibrational existence. And that's what I mean now, is that this giant is the vibrational existence. It's taking care of your vibrational existence for you. And I love that visual. So we can now sink into this space where we have given so much, not of ourselves, but of this universal energy for the sake of universal expansion, for the sake of the expansion of the collective at large. And we've built all these giants. And now we can just let it go. We can just drop into the space and know that all of that energy is going to come back to you in physical form as well. So if you're someone who's a way shower, a light worker, a starseed, and everything you do is in the name of the betterment of humanity, of the furtherment of humanity, then help is underway. Your love is being reciprocated now. And in 2020, you will reap that fruit. Everything is coming in, the love, the purpose, the career, all of it. But you've already been doing your purpose because by intentionally directing your energy, that was the purpose. And now your giant, your giant Melissa, your giant Stephanie, your giant Charles is going to take care of you in 2020. Cool. Now, 2024 What is that? So I saw this other group of people, and you can sniff these people from a mile away. And I mean that with the utmost love. Because the reason I mean it with love and without judgment is because we all have to go through what we need to go through until we don't need to go through it anymore. We all have to play out our stories until we don't feel a need to play them out anymore. I did that with myself too. I had a time where I would have a box of cookies a night, and I was a personal trainer, and people were like, "You look so great." I'm like, I eat cookies every night. In my mind, I felt like such a phony because I was eating horribly. But what my guides taught me at the time was judgment is the very thing that will keep you in a loop, Phil. So what you need to do is abolish judgment altogether, just eradicate it. And the judgment is going to allow you to ascend no matter what you're doing. Sorry, the non-judgment is going to allow you to ascend no matter what you're doing. So I made a decision that I would keep having the cookies because, you know, when you go through a Kundalini Awakening, your body needs all kinds of things. It needs sugar. It needs all these things that are not logical. They don't make sense. You would think that you need greens and that you need all these things. For me, that was not the case. And I respect you if your case was different. But for me, when my Kundalini was very active, I've always needed to eat carbs to bring myself back down because I naturally go up there. That's just how I'm wired. So for me, eating carbs and eating cookies and sugar was my way to anchor into my physicality. And that's going to be different for every person. There's no right, no wrong. That's just what it was for me. So I made a decision that night that I would keep having the cookies because that's what my body was requiring. But I'm not going to judge myself anymore. And I'm not going to work out harder the next day. I'm just going to accept it and love it. And eventually, I didn't need to have the cookies anymore. Do I still love cookies? Yes, but I don't need to have a whole box every night anymore. So a lot of people are going to keep playing out their dramas and their traumas as long as they need to. The only thing that I would key them in on, right, is like if you stop judging yourself, if you just smoke your damn cigarettes and enjoy it, if you just have your freaking cookies and enjoy it, if you get mad and just get mad without regretting it afterwards, right? Then you'll get out of that loop a lot sooner. But judgment is the very thing that hinders us. It's the very thing that hinders our growth. It just is. So when someone's like, I watch porn a lot, I'm like, great, keep watching it, but stop judging yourself next time. If you smoke cigarettes, keep freaking having those cigarettes. You know, I'm one of those people, if you're having a cigarette and a coffee, I'll be like, hey, enjoy your cig and your coffee. And they're like, thank you. And I feel like in that moment, this is just hitting me now, I become that person that's pouring love into them. Because think of all the people who judge them for smoking. So if I can offer one second of love and, hey, enjoy your cigarette, and they feel that love pouring into their human, like I was mentioning earlier, then I'm happy I was able to provide that for them. But we don't do that for each other enough. We're constantly attacking each other and down each other's throats. All right, I know, I went on a tangent. So 2024, I saw this other group of people who are very resistant to their own growth. They are hanging on to everything that they can hang on to because they're too petrified of ascending. Too petrified. Oh my God, will he ever propose? Oh my God, will this ever happen for me? Oh my God, oh my God. And they cannot relinquish their control. They're not able to. They're super afraid of the unknown. They're not able to let go into the giant because in many ways they don't have a giant yet. They don't really have a giant. They haven't constructed a giant. What they have done is constructed a lot of drama and trauma, which is a different kind of giant. Is the kind of giant that's going to want your energy when it tells you how bad the weather is. How's that for a visual? How's that for a visual? I love that visual. So when people are making choices to disempower themselves, they're feeding a different kind of giant. And that giant is now going to work through them to grab everyone's energy. It's like a squid that has tentacles. And the weather sucks. Feed me, feed me, feed me. Pity me. Woe is me. But the thing is, there's no judgment there because that's the choice that they're making and they have a free will. And they're going to have to keep playing that out until they stop, until they're completely disinterested in playing it out. So what I got for them is that they're going to help will not be underway until 2024. So I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just that, as you guys know, it takes a long time to collapse a reality, to deconstruct a reality, which now I'm always going to use the giant because it's so me. It takes a while to stop, to make that giant go away, to start starving it, to not give it food anymore. And then it gets slimmer and thinner and thinner and thinner until that frequency doesn't exist anymore. It takes a while to deconstruct old realities. The nice thing about deconstructing realities is, as you're doing so, you're simultaneously constructing a new one. You're simultaneously constructing a new one. Does that make sense? So when someone is does something that's very deceiving, and you get hurt by that, well, as you feel the pain, rather than getting reactive and berating them, right? As you feel the pain, you are dissolving that reality or that timeline, but you're also constructing anew. They happen at the same time. So what's happening with people who are clinging on to everything, and I'm not talking about people in this room, to be honest. I'm talking about the people who really don't want to take a peek at what's going on in their life. Like they're completely oblivious to what's going on around them and within them. They're living in a delusion as opposed to understanding that this is just an illusion. You got it? They're living in a delusion as opposed to seeing this as an illusion that was created by them and for them to completely break down. It's an illusion that we're breaking down. But most people are still living in a delusion. That delusion is a match to that disempowered frequency that they're still carrying and lugging around in their body. So we're here for a physical body ascension. It's not enough to know things consciously. You actually have to apply them. If you don't apply these intuitive knowings or these different downloads that you receive, your physical body cannot ascend. It cannot, because all of the programming is in your body. It's in your bones, it's in your teeth, it's in your nose, in your skin, it's in your body. So you can't elevate your body unless you apply what you've been told non-physically or spiritually into your physical life. So that takes time. It takes a long time. When I first had my Kundalini Awakening, I thought it would last like 5 years, and then I'd become like the Dalai Lama, because it was so active in my body that it was like I was like a sponge that was getting twisted, like going through a ringer to clear all the impurities. Guess what? This is 9 years later, and my Kundalini is as active as it was when I first awakened. So my body holds a lot of impurities. There's a lot of programming there. And from another perspective, it's not programming. What it is that crystals are now developing in the body. They're forming in the body. Your entire multidimensional structure is having to get installed in your physical body. So that's a whole project right there. And I thought it would happen in 5 years because some people said it would take 15 years, but they didn't meditate every day. I'm like an avid meditator and I pay attention to everything. So I thought, no, this is going to be a never-ending process of continually installing this new multidimensional grid system within the body. So it's a whole project. It's like destroying a house or dismantling a house and rebuilding a house. Only that this house isn't so tangible. It's you're working with quantum energy. So people who are, and I'm not talking about anyone who is like, thank you so much, Fran, I appreciate you so much. I'm not talking about people who have awakened spiritually. I'm talking about people who have not awakened or have somewhat awakened, but they're still too afraid to let go of what needs to let go of. Those people they won't experience that heaven on earth until 2024, or that will be the precipice of it. Okay, it won't be heaven on earth, it will be the beginning of it. So for me, I feel like I'm living in heaven on earth, but there are still things in heaven on earth that I want to experience. I want to experience love. I want to experience more friendship. I want to be able to meet you guys in person and just hang out and just wake up and just not always be turned on, and just have fun and listen to each other and have community. So there are a lot of things that I desire. So my heaven on earth is here now in terms of my vibration, but not necessarily in terms of what I want to experience physically, if that makes sense. The nice thing about having connected to heaven on earth from within and being fifth dimensional is that you don't require external things to feel happy anymore. And I can attest to that, because I honestly feel like I don't need anything that is external to feel fulfilled. Okay, but my guides, like they said today, is you guys don't need to say that anymore. I don't need to say that anymore. We have a mutual understanding that yes, we've elevated, but now can we just enjoy the ride and let the red carpet roll out and go, woo, yeah, everything I've invested in energetically has to take place physically. That's a law. So people in 2024 are grappling right now with letting go of people who aren't a match to them romantically. I mean, let's face it, you know when someone's a match for you. If you want someone to hug you and they're not hugging you, they're probably not your match. It's not that difficult. So I think we overcomplicate things as humans sometimes, and that's just the ego. So people who aren't going to have that epiphany or who aren't going to experience those higher photonic light energies still don't understand that there's nothing wrong with them. Because their divine self is perfect. It's not more elevated than me or you, and we're not more elevated than it. It's just that they've made an agreement that they're not divine. That's what it is. They've clouded their aura with this dark cloud by believing a lie that there's something wrong with wanting someone to hug you. There's nothing wrong. It's a preference. It's a frequency that you want to experience in physical form. Is that resonating with you guys? So a lot of people buy into these beliefs that there's something wrong with you if you're not married by the age of 30. There's something wrong with you if you don't have a child. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just believing what everyone else is telling you. That's why you're programmed. And you're programmed because you believe what everyone else is telling you. It's both. I'm hugging you, Araceli, I see you. So people who are still kind of clamping like a crab onto everything that they can and they're not able to let go and unclamp, those people are going to go through a serious learning curve in the next couple of years. And I'll tell you why, and why it differs from what we went through. When we went through it, the energy was very dense on the planet. So the contrast was alarming. And I'm sure many of you would attest to that. It was alarming. It was like, okay, we need to drag our feet through the mud and we need to lug around all these heavy imprints from the Akashic record and learn how to integrate, work with them, transmute them. So we were in a dense energy. The energy of the planet has lightened. Not only it's become lighter, but it's light, it's lightened. So what does this mean? Now ascension is going to accelerate for everyone. It's going to expedite. And so what does that mean? It means that everyone who's still holding on to a 3D reality is going to scramble because there aren't many chairs in 3D anymore. It's like musical chairs. I always liken 3D to musical chairs. Because of our light work, more and more chairs are being pulled away. So there aren't many chairs to sit on anymore. Okay? So the difference between when we went through it and them is that now they have more availability in terms of information and wisdom because we've deposited it in the field. But that's going to make all of their traumas come up at once. So they have like 4 years to get it together. That's the vision I got. They have like 4 years to let it all go. to get real with themselves. Getting real is so important. You can't just live with a blindfold on the rest of your life. If someone tells you, I'm not in love with you, like, why are you hanging on to it? They're telling you I'm not in love with you. Set them free. Say, I love you unconditionally as my brother or sister of God source. It's an agape love. It's an unconditional love that transcends gender, that transcends my ego and what my ego wants. I love you and I want you to find love. You deserve that. And I deserve it too. So I'm letting you go. But you've already let me go. But we're letting each other go. But if someone tells you they're not in love with you and you hang on and they're still with you, they're programmed too. All right? So let's just set the record straight. If someone tells you they're not in love with you and you can't let them go and they're still with you, they're as programmed as you. So all of these scenarios that are playing out that are quite heavy duty for people are going to take a while to resolve and to dissolve. That's just the truth. Oh, thank you for saying I'm on fire. I didn't prepare anything today, nothing. Usually I'll get like 2 sentences. I got 1 word, 2020. It's not even a word, it's numbers, 2020. So yeah, I don't want to talk about the 2024 too much because I recognize that most people who are on here right now are part of the 2020 group, but I did want to drop in with you guys and share this information I got today. Again, I wanted to talk about something different, but this is important information. And I even got a vision that this video is going to do really well because this message needs to be heard. Is it my message? It is not. I'm just a messenger. So it's a message that needs to be heard by a lot of people right now. Wow, that was fun. I enjoyed that a lot. I didn't know what would come out, but it turned out really well. So I thank everyone for being here with me today. And happy Sunday to everyone. And thank you for the birthday wishes. I love you tremendously. I'm sending you so much love. If you have not subscribed, please do if you feel inspired to, because it's helping my message get out there. And thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. I do read your comments. I love reading your comments because I have an affinity with my YouTube family. I'm so blessed to be with you guys. And as much as it took time for me to acclimate to YouTube, like I have to admit, I was a little intimidated by YouTube. It took me a while to really adapt to it and settle in, but I feel like I finally have. And that's thanks to you. And thanks to my shadow work as well. So there you go. I love you guys so much. And I will speak to you in another version of the now.